Hi, my name is Chang, and today I'll be presenting on the summer research that I conducted last year, which was studying the intuitive overlap between traditional and simplified Chinese characters. So before I get into exactly what I did for this project, I want to talk a little bit about why this topic interests me and why I chose to research it last summer. And so that is partially because my freshman year here, I studied abroad in China, and I spent 2 weeks at Beijing Normal University, which is pictured on the left here. And during those 2 weeks, I took classes on simplified Chinese. So just a very basic introduction to characters, writing calligraphy, how to pronounce syllables, things like that. And simplified Chinese is what's used all across mainland China today, which is why that's what we studied in Beijing. But on the right, I have a picture of some extended family on my dad's side, and they all immigrated from Taiwan, where traditional Chinese is used. So sometimes in emails and birthday cards and things like that, my dad's family will write traditional Chinese. And so I just started to wonder um, if there was any overlap between these two character scripts. And I was really interested in the fact that what I learned in Beijing was different than what I had seen from my family. And so I wanted to just investigate that a little bit further. So the main question that I wanted to ask in this project is how well can simplified Chinese learners understand traditional Chinese characters? And given that traditional characters are just objectively more complex than simplified ones, and also given that the two sets don't always have a one-to-one relationship when it comes to translations, I wanted to know if students with no prior experience in traditional Chinese will be able to correctly read traditional characters just based on their intuition and their prior knowledge of simplified characters. And so my main methodology for this research was a Qualtrics survey, which I sent to William and Mary students who had recently taken intermediate Chinese classes here at William and Mary. And so they had a background in simplified Chinese characters. My survey tested students on 55 terms, and I use the word terms because some of them were single words and some were short phrases like thank you or you're welcome, things like that. So 55 terms, and the survey was divided into two sections to be completed in the same sitting. The first section of the survey was simplified Chinese characters and prompted students to type in the pinyin translation and the definition of the term in their own words after looking at the simplified character. And this section is what established a baseline for assessing the student's knowledge across both character sets. So basically a baseline for comparison of the two sets. And after this first section was complete, students moved on to section 2, which was the exact same process using the same terms, but with traditional Chinese instead of simplified this time. So here I have an example of what one of the survey questions looked like. So I have the first question from the simplified section and the first question from the traditional section. And as you can see, these are both the same term, but one is in simplified script and one is in traditional. So very briefly, I want to talk about some of the results I had in this survey. First of all, the student accuracy in section 1, so the simplified characters, was about 89%. So students did very well on the simplified section overall. And then for section 2, student accuracy dropped to 70%. And I included my formula for calculating that statistic because just to highlight the fact that if students got an answer wrong in section 1, I did not count an incorrect answer, a corresponding incorrect answer in section 2 against them. Because if they don't know the term in simplified Chinese, then their subsequent ability or inability to recognize the term in traditional Chinese is not relevant to the question that I'm asking in this study. And so the last thing I want to point out requires a quick explanation of what I mean by overlapping and distinct terms. So if you look at the box on the right here, at the top you can see that on the left we have the simplified term, and on the right we have the traditional term. And the first character in both of these is zai, and it's the same. So this term means goodbye, zaijian, and zai is the same in simplified and traditional Chinese. But jian is different in simplified versus traditional. So they are distinct terms with an overlapping character. And then on the bottom, I have an example of a term that has two completely distinct characters. So that word is renshi, which means to know someone, or to know in reference to knowing somebody. And so you can see that in simplified and in traditional, those terms are completely distinct. So the last statistic I want to share is that the difference between the number of incorrect distinct terms and the number of incorrect terms with overlapping characters was on average 9.682. So what that means is that students did much better with recognizing traditional characters that had, or traditional terms that had overlapping characters with simplified. And so obviously this is just really scratching the surface at a topic that has so many implications and so many things that can be explored here. But these are just some of the results that I had. And thank you for listening.